Hello again, and welcome to 7 Minutes or Less, where we talk about a Christian topic that is of interest in your daily life. And joining me, as always, is Brother Bruce Bennett, the senior pastor here at First Methodist Malvern. And thank you for making time for us today.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you. And so we're going to continue our talk today, what we talked about last week, which was personal wealth and Christianity. Okay? So anyway, the Bible talks about it. Jesus said it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to gain heaven. So, I mean, you know, so where do we go? Tell us about personal wealth. How does it relate to Christians?
Yeah, you know, part of the problem with personal wealth is that the pursuit of it takes up so much of our lives. And I don't know if you ever noticed, but the more toys you have, the more toys you want. I mean, I noticed that millionaires want to be billionaires, and all the rest of us want to be millionaires. It doesn't matter how much you have, you want more, and your life becomes focused on that. So we never have enough. That's part of the problem with pursuing wealth. And then once you have it, your life is focused on keeping it, right? No matter how many possessions you have, you got to buy insurance for it all, and you got to make sure it's secure and take care of it. And so you spend your whole life taking care of the things you have rather than doing great things in the world. And so it tends to limit life rather than expand it and give you life. That's what Jesus talks about over and over, that the sum of life isn't defined by how much stuff you have. In fact, that tends to limit life. So kind of the question in the Christian faith is, how do we balance the pursuit of making a good living and living a good life and our faith, which calls us to do something other than just spend our lives in pursuit of wealth? So that's what I try to think about in my own life. It's really an issue for me personally. You know, how much is enough? I think a lot of times about how rich we are in this country. You don't really even have to travel to another country to discover that. You can really just go in a neighborhood in your own town. There are lots of neighborhoods where people make less than you make. And you start to realize that they still have life. And in fact, they may be enjoying life more than you enjoy it. So I'm reminded of just how rich we are. You know, 71% of the world population lives on less than $10 a day. So if you bring home $3,650 a year, you're in the top 29% of the world. Now let's think about that. You are rich. If you eat a meal today, one meal, you are better off than 800 million people in the world. Now that's staggering to me. Now, how about this statistic? If you make $32,000 a year, if your family brings home $32,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of the world. Do you feel like you're in the top 1%?
I don't think a lot of people do, no.
Well, they should, because we're so blessed. Most of us have so much, we just don't recognize it.
But don't you think the word rich, and you say we're rich, but the word rich kind of conjures up, you know, pictures of stacks of money sitting around,
Yes.
Instead of just the richness that we have to enjoy. I mean, we can't take it with us.
That's
We
right.
cannot take. All we can do is pass it on to the kids, who are going to spend it anyway, probably. But really, I mean, you can't take it along, and rich just means piles of money.
Yeah, I'm reminded of how rich I am when I think about my diet. You know, I can go to a grocery store and buy fruits and vegetables that kings and queens couldn't couldn't eat and receive, find 100 years ago. And yet I enjoy all this richness. It's just incredible. So the second thing for me, I've tried to stop keeping up with the Joneses and the Smiths and the Waltons. You know, doing that is not life. It doesn't add to our lives. Recent studies indicate that happiness is really not connected to being wealthy. At a certain level of having all that you need, all that you really need, not what you want, happiness is already as full as it can possibly be. And then finally, I think of what John Wesley, that devoted Christian who started the Methodist movement, said over and over. It runs in my head. He said, make all you can. That's right. Make all that you possibly can honestly. If it doesn't hurt anyone, make all you can. And then he said, save all that you possibly can. And what he meant by that was live as a frugal lifestyle. If he was here today, he'd tell us to trim back the thermostat and don't go out to eat so much. Save as much as you can. And the reason he said save as much as you can, it had a purpose, so that you can give all that you can. And the reason he said that is that in order to be fully alive, we need to reflect the image of God, who is generous in every way. And to be generous is life. Plant a kernel of corn, and it turns into 800 kernels of corn. That's how generous God is.
Well, you know, at our age, or my age anyway, you know, you look around, people say, what do you want for Christmas? What do you want for your birthday? I don't want anything. I've got everything you could possibly, want. iPads, everything like that. So anyway, hey, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today. I really enjoy sitting down with these little talks.
I enjoy it too. Thank you, Tony.